The two walked, and Meng Yao noticed Yanmu wore the same clothes as before. She pointed out Fang Yuxu, who was once again clinging to the chubby man from before. Meng Yao remarked that Fang Yuxu didn't seem well and asked if something was wrong. Yanmu brushed it off, saying it was her choice and none of their concern. As they continued walking, Meng Yao kept asking about his history with Fang Yuxu. Yanmu deflected, and they arrived at a property showroom. A saleswoman greeted them, but after hearing Yanmu wanted to see villas, she scoffed, suggesting they look at smaller homes due to their appearance. Even Meng Yao was surprised, questioning Yanmu's finances. Yanmu promised to buy her a grand home, which left her in shock. The saleswoman dismissed him, mocking his apparent poverty and suggesting he was confusing the value of such properties. Meng Yao, embarrassed, wanted to leave. The saleswoman continued her insults, saying their clothes weren't even worth $200, so how could they afford a mansion? Yanmu took Meng Yao's arm, intending to leave, when a man with purple hair appeared. Recognizing him as Su Fi, Yanmu attempted a friendly greeting, but Su Fi coldly brushed him off. He sneered, pointing out Yanmu's poverty and questioning why he was talking about buying a villa. Yanmu ignored the comment and asked why Su Fi was speaking to him at all. Su Fi, feigning nonchalance, mentioned that he managed a few small businesses and was on the market for a new house. The saleswoman eagerly jumped in, praising Su Fi and saying that he was perfect for one of their exquisite villas. Su Fi then turned to Yanmu, smugly stating that he had more pressing matters and that Yanmu, being a drifter, could take his time. Yanmu, unbothered, replied that he had a relaxed life, so Su Fi could go ahead. The saleswoman accompanied Su Fi to view the villas, leaving Yanmu to step aside, pretending to make a phone call. It was clear he wasn't planning to let this slide. Meanwhile, Su Fi pulled out his card, ready to make a purchase without further inspection. The saleswoman informed him that the suite cost $2 million and confirmed if he was sure. She was thrilled about the high commission she stood to earn. Su Fi, driven by his long-standing envy of Yanmu for his academic success and popularity with girls, took the opportunity to feel superior. He glanced at Meng Yao, noting Yanmu's absence, and mocked her, suggesting that Yanmu had abandoned her. Yanmu returned, apologizing for the delay. Su Fi dismissively remarked that it didn't matter, then asked what kind of house Yanmu intended to buy, mocking him by offering to put his father to work as a laborer. Meng Yao, furious, told Su Fi to stop trampling on people's dignity with his money. Su Fi, sneering, retorted that money was the harsh reality of society. Yanmu calmly asked Meng Yao to settle down, warning Su Fi that any further disrespect would make him forget they had ever been classmates. Su Fi, undeterred, prodded Yanmu's chest, claiming he wasn't in a position to lecture anyone. The saleswoman chimed in, telling Yanmu he clearly couldn't afford anything and should leave. Su Fi agreed and called for security. But just then, a well-dressed man approached Yanmu, informing him that his gold bank card was ready. Another senior saleswoman appeared, asking about the commotion. The first saleswoman complained that a troublemaker was causing problems without being able to afford a house. Yanmu pulled out his VIP gold card, silencing the room, and asked who claimed he couldn't pay. The senior administrator immediately recognized the card, apologized profusely, and offered her services. Meanwhile, Su Fi, desperate to maintain his standing, grabbed the administrator, insisting he was a valued customer. She questioned whether he recognized the card Yanmu held. Su Fi glanced at it dismissively before realizing it was a super VIP card, not just any bank card. Stunned, he stumbled, accusing Yanmu of theft before walking away. Yanmu, having researched property values, asked for prices and was told $10 million each. He confidently handed over his card, announcing he'd buy. The senior saleswoman, now eager to serve, prepared the transaction, but Yanmu stopped her, declaring that any commission would go to someone else, not her. The administrator then fired the saleswoman on the spot. Su Fi tried to befriend Yanmu, suggesting they go out for drinks. Before Yanmu could respond, security escorted Su Fi away. Su Fi pleaded, asking if Yanmu really wanted him removed by force. Yanmu reminded him that Su Fi had just called for the same treatment. Panicking, Su Fi offered to apologize. Curious, Yanmu asked the system if it could read people's fortunes. The system confirmed it could, even revealing potential for discovering treasures. Yanmu considered the strategic use of such abilities. He then noticed a dark aura around Su Fi and warned him to be careful, as bad luck seemed to loom over him. Su Fi dismissed it, still begging for reconciliation. Meanwhile, the dismissed saleswoman begged the administrator for another chance, claiming her father's illness would worsen without her job. Meng Yao, feeling sympathy, asked Yanmu to reconsider. Yanmu agreed, and the administrator allowed the saleswoman to stay, attributing her second chance to Yanmu's decision. Observing Meng Yao's golden fortune aura, Yanmu noted she was destined for good things. Nearby, an older woman, impressed by Yanmu's success, asked if he'd like to meet her granddaughters. Yanmu, bold as ever, replied that he was with his girlfriend and was there to buy her a house. Yanmu whispered quietly to Meng Yao, asking her to cooperate and play along so they could avoid an awkward situation. She turned away, blushing, and he asked what was wrong. Just then, he received a call from Fang Yuxu. Meng Yao immediately noticed his change in demeanor. Checking his old model phone, Yanmu saw a message from Fang Yuxu saying she was in room 606 and needed help. Yanmu wondered if she had willingly gone to the hotel with Madong. Meng Yao saw the message too and insisted that if he didn't help Fang Yuxu and something terrible happened, he'd regret it. Yanmu, however, dismissed it, saying it was no longer his problem. Meng Yao pleaded with him, saying he couldn't just stand by. She told him to help Yuxu and assured him she'd make her way home alone. Reluctantly, Yanmu ran off, telling Meng Yao to be careful. The scene shifted to room 606, where Madong was making lecherous advances on Fang Yuxu, commenting on her figure with disgusting remarks. Fang Yuxu demanded he stay away from her, but Madong grabbed her wrist, reminding her that it was her family who arranged the meeting, so she had better comply. He began tearing at her clothes, claiming she'd already promised to spend time with him. At that moment, the door opened. Yanmu entered, holding up his phone and announcing that everything was recorded. Madong, shocked, lunged for the phone, but Yanmu kneed him in the stomach, causing him to collapse and retch. Madong threatened Yanmu, claiming he'd still have his way with Fang Yuxu and send thugs after him. Yanmu responded by slamming the phone against Madong's ear, demanding he repeat himself. Madong, undeterred, called Yanmu a worthless loser who would never have any woman. Yanmu delivered another harsh kick, finally silencing him. Turning to Fang Yuxu, who was complaining of feeling overheated and weak, Yanmu realized she'd been drugged. He carried her to the bathroom, placed her in the tub, and told her to call if she needed anything. Meanwhile, Madong tried crawling away but received another kick from Yanmu. When Madong protested, claiming he hadn't actually done anything, Yanmu reminded him of the recorded evidence. Desperate, Madong asked what Yanmu wanted. Yanmu, ever pragmatic, asked if Madong was prepared to pay for his freedom. Madong, paranoid, suspected Fang Yuxu of setting him up. Yanmu dismissed the notion, stating it was none of his concern what happened when the footage went public. Madong countered, claiming the hotel wouldn't release security footage to him, to which Yanmu coolly replied that he had connections with the hotel manager and invited him to test his luck. Panicking, Madong tried negotiating, offering 5 million. Yanmu scoffed, demanding 40 million. Fang Yuxu emerged from the bathroom at that moment, and Madong, frantic, raised his offer to 10 million. Yanmu pressed on, settling at 30 million and warning Madong to keep his word. Clearly defeated, Madong fled, muttering threats of revenge. Yanmu turned to Fang Yuxu, asking if she was okay. She thanked him for his help. Yanmu brushed it off and prepared to leave. Suddenly, Fang Yuxu grabbed his arm, asking if it was true that he planned to invest 15 million in the Nebula Group. Yanmu questioned if she hadn't seen him transfer the money earlier. She admitted she had, but was confused about how he suddenly acquired such wealth. Yanmu avoided the question, instead asking if money was more important to her than feelings. Fang Yuxu released his arm and Yanmu left, telling her she'd find her way home on her own. Back at the real estate company, Meng Yao asked if he had sorted everything out. Yanmu confirmed he had, thanking the manager, who assured him he would always be treated as a valued client at their company. Yanmu gently comforted Meng Yao, who admitted she was tired and didn't want to intrude on anyone's life anymore. Yanmu reassured her that he would finalize the paperwork for their new residence tomorrow. Meanwhile, at Madong's office, his underlings fussed over him as he ranted about his injuries. They demanded to know who had hurt him, ready to retaliate. Madong, seething with rage, told them to hold off for now. He had plans to deal with the Fang family first, determined to claim Fang Yuxu if he had to pay the 30 million. Back at the Fang household, Fang Yuxu's parents speculated about her absence. Her mother suggested it was a good sign, implying she had captivated Madong's attention, likely working her charm. Just then, Fang Yuxu returned, visibly distressed. Her mother, feigning delight, questioned her lateness. Fang Yuxu quickly shut it down, announcing there would be no deal with Madong. Shocked, her mother demanded an explanation. Fang Yuxu revealed Madong's attempt to drug her and how Yanmu had intervened. Her father dismissed Yanmu's interference as a nuisance, while Fang Yuxu, noting his change, mentioned Yanmu's recent investments and real estate acquisition. Her mother, eyes lighting up at the prospect of the wealthy son-in-law, insisted she rekindle the relationship. The scene shifted to an internet cafe where a young man engrossed in a game of Crossfire impressed his friend, who suggested a casual match. A bystander encouraged them to make it competitive, wagering a pack of cigarettes. The gamer, consumed by his addiction, agreed. He lost terribly 3-20 to the newcomer, who casually suggested he relax. Forced to pay up, he grumbled about his bad day, only for the tension to escalate when he encountered a group outside, leading to a punch in the face. Though seemingly unrelated, this interlude highlighted the gritty reality surrounding Jiang Qing's youth. Back at Yanmu's home, he considered spending survival points to unlock more abilities, including enhanced perception of others' fortunes. Frustrated at the slow pace of earning points, the system, with biting sarcasm, reminded him that life was tough. It suggested he could even improve his appearance with points. Contemplating this, Yanmu's thoughts were interrupted by another call from Fang Yuxu. He reluctantly answered, only to hear her mother's voice, sweet-talking him into giving the family access to his wealth in exchange for reconciling with Fang Yuxu. Yanmu snapped, telling her to stop bothering him. Shortly after, Yanmu received the finalized contract for the properties he purchased. Meng Yao, noticing his glum demeanor, asked if he was okay. He apologized, and the real estate manager thanked him for his patronage. Wandering the streets of Jiangxing, Yanmu encountered Fang Yuxu once again. She seemed to appear intentionally, and Yanmu, weary of the constant run-ins, asked why she was following him, reiterating that they were done. Fang Yuxi revealed that her brother had gotten into trouble at a cyber cafe and owed $500,000. Worse, he had been kidnapped, and the captors demanded the money for his release. Yanmu, unimpressed, coldly stated that her brother's problems were not his concern. Desperate, Fang Yuxu grabbed his hand and offered herself, promising to fulfill his physical desires if he helped. Yanmu, disgusted, pulled away, telling her to have some self-respect and lamenting how far she'd fallen. Tears streaming, Fang Yuxu pleaded, saying her family was powerless to save her brother. Yanmu, unable to fully suppress his compassion, reluctantly agreed to help, but only if they cut all ties afterward. Fang Yuxu resisted, insisting they were still family and couldn't simply walk away from each other. Yanmu, visibly exhausted by the entire situation, told Fang Yuxu's brother that if they were truly family, there was no need to continue the conversation. Meng Yao, who was growing increasingly frustrated, accused Yanmu of being cold-hearted, insisting that Fang Yuxu was truly suffering. Yanmu, unmoved, simply stated that her problems were no longer his responsibility. Meng Yao paused, commenting that he wasn't always this unfeeling, and that she didn't understand what had gone wrong between him and Fang Yuxu, since their relationship once seemed solid. Yanmu thought back to the pain and betrayal of his past life. Despite his internal struggle, he was resolute. Getting involved again would only bring more trouble. He told Meng Yao to head home while he checked out the internet cafe himself, determined to end the matter once and for all. At the cafe, Fang Yuxu's brother was held captive, surrounded by thugs demanding the ransom. When he tried to argue, they laughed and threatened violence unless his family paid up. Outside, a guard tried to stop Yanmu from entering. Without hesitation, Yanmu punched him, knocking him to the ground. Once inside, the thugs recognized Yanmu, wondering why he had come. Calmly, Yanmu declared that there were too many of them, so he needed a boost. He swallowed a strength-enhancing pill, increasing his power significantly. One thug, who had previously targeted Meng Yao, taunted Yanmu, reminding him of a debt. Yanmu coldly questioned why he should pay, and the brother, tied up, begged him to hand over the money to avoid escalating the situation. But Yanmu had no intention of complying. He exuded a dangerous red aura, warning everyone to keep still. When one of the thugs lunged, Yanmu struck with unyielding force, knocking him across the room. More goons surrounded Yanmu, but he fought back effortlessly, his enhanced strength making short work of them. Fang Yuxu's brother, shocked, demanded to know why Yanmu had taken so long to intervene, even suggesting that Yanmu should compensate him to keep quiet. Yanmu, perplexed, realized that the brother had no gratitude, only greed. In response, he slapped him, demanding to know when he'd grown so bold. Yanmu warned him to go home before he lost his temper entirely, reminding him that he'd only come because of Fang Yuxu's desperate plea. Just as Yanmu turned to leave, Madong and a mob of thugs blocked his exit. Madong, thirsting for revenge, ordered his men to kill Yanmu. Faced with overwhelming numbers, Yanmu's options were limited. The system intervened, offering an agility pill in exchange for more points. Yanmu consumed it, enhancing his speed and reflexes. He easily dodged a thrown brick and moved so quickly it seemed as if he were teleporting, dismantling Madong's men with ruthless efficiency. Madong found himself on the ground again, helpless against Yanmu's might. Yanmu asked why he plotted his death, and Madong, ever blunt, said it was payback for what Yanmu had done to him. Yanmu, amused by Madong's flawed logic, agreed it made sense, though it was unfortunate for Madong to be on the losing end. With time running short, Yanmu demanded compensation for the wasted effort and points spent. Desperate, Madong offered 20 million to avoid further punishment. Yanmu accepted, insisting on immediate payment. Shortly after, Yanmu's account was credited with 50 million, as Madong had neglected to transfer the 30 million owed from their last encounter. Yanmu dismissed Madong, who vowed to recover his losses one day. Turning to Fang Yuxu's brother, Yanmu coldly asked if he knew his way home. The brother, still ungrateful, spat out threats, claiming he'd never forget the humiliation. Yanmu, unimpressed, told him he should be grateful to be alive and warned him to stop using weak excuses for his failures. Tired of the pointless drama, Yanmu demanded the brother disappear. Another harsh lesson was delivered, leaving no doubt about who was in control. Yanmu dismissed the departing Fang Yuxu's brother, who threatened to tell their parents everything, believing it would cause trouble for Yanmu. Unbothered, Yanmu decided to check his system. Despite having gained 50 million, there was no change in his survival points. The system curtly explained that money obtained dishonestly didn't count. Yanmu grumbled, realizing even the system demanded moral earnings now. Back at the Fang household, the mother berated Fang Yuxu for failing to secure Yanmu, whom she disparagingly called trash. She questioned how Fang Yuxu could let her brother Xiaoyu suffer. Fang Yuxu tried explaining that Yanmu had completely severed ties with her, but Xiaoyu stormed in, battered and bruised. Their mother, relieved to see him, asked why he looked so beaten up. Xiaoyu blamed Fang Yuxiu, claiming that instead of helping, Yanmu had humiliated him. Fang Yuxiu was surprised to learn that Yanmu had intervened. Xiaoyu twisted the story, saying Yanmu had only shown up to make things worse, and his slap hurt more than the thug's beatings. He accused Yanmu of profiting from her suffering, claiming Yanmu's wealth came from extorting madamada. Their mother, incensed, declared Yanmu to be worse than an animal for using her daughter's pain. Fang Yuxiu resolved to confront him, unsure if this explained his motives during their relationship. Meanwhile, Meng Yao questioned Yanmu's mood, wondering why he seemed upset with the system. She teased him about being beaten up by someone. Yanmu brushed it off, telling her to relax. When Meng Yao pressed, asking if he was still hung up on Fang Yuxiu, their conversation was interrupted as Fang Yuxiu arrived, demanding to talk. Meng Yao, taken aback, sarcastically asked if Fang Yuxiu was joining them for dinner. Yanmu, unfazed, told her she wasn't welcome and asked why she was there. Fang Yuxiu, furious, slammed her hand on the table, accusing him of beating her brother while dining with another woman. Yanmu clarified that Meng Yao was like a sister to him, but Fang Yuxiu dismissed the notion, pressing him on why he'd harmed Xiaoyu if he'd gone to save him. Fang Yuxiu insinuated that Yanmu was with Meng Yao out of spite. Frustrated, Yanmu demanded to know if she was delusional. Fang Yuxiu accused him of flaunting his wealth to humiliate her family, suggesting he could have used money to solve everything. Yanmu reminded her of his poverty and declared he wouldn't waste a single coin on her vampire family. Enraged, Fang Yuxiu denied being from a family of leeches while Meng Yao watched, confused. Fang Yuxiu's voice rose as she accused Yanmu of moving on quickly. Yanmu told her to shut up, questioning why it bothered her so much and pointing out her obsession. He warned that if she kept believing her brother's lies, there was no need to talk again. Fang Yuxiu lashed out, claiming Yanmu had always used her for money and tried to slap him, but he caught her wrist. He reminded her that their relationship was over, and she needed to stop acting irrationally. Raking free, Fang Yuxiu vowed he would regret this. Meng Yao, bewildered, asked if Yanmu and Fang Yuxiu had truly broken up. Yanmu confirmed it, suspecting Fang Yuxiu's behavior was a ploy to regain his attention. Meng Yao, seeing Yanmu's goodness, wondered why Fang Yuxiu treated him so poorly. Yanmu reassured her with a smile, encouraging her to eat so they could head home. The scene shifted to Nebula Group's office, where the president thanked Yanmu for his investment. Yanmu reviewed a project proposal, finally feeling optimistic about a promising development. However, while looking at the papers, Yanmu asks why the man is choosing to use low-quality materials. The president explains that they tried using high-quality materials, but the profit margins were too low, and people were refusing to cooperate. Our boy comments that this will be a big problem, but Penju says that at the start, they just need to pass the test, so there is no need to produce many. Yanmu agrees and suggests focusing sales primarily on communication companies. Penju is surprised he hadn't thought of that before and sees it as the best option to sell to them, especially since they constantly transmit signals. He only comments on the material, and our protagonist tells him to relax, saying he will find someone to secure what they need. Back on the streets of Jiangsheng, he spends a lot of time there. Looking at the card, he knows the best thing would be to form a partnership with the Tang Company, but he has no idea how or why they would cooperate with Nebula. That's when he looks to the side and sees a man grabbing a girl by the hair, telling her to shut up. He quickly recognizes her as the girl who humiliated him at the real estate office, and it seems she's now working as a waitress. Some other men approach and demand the man let the girl go, or they will call the police. But man, in this city, everyone seems ready to stir up trouble, because out comes another knife. Then the savior of girls who humiliate him arrives, grabbing the man by the arm. The man warns that the Lord is interested in this woman, so it would be best not to interfere. Oh boy, it's Madon again. He can't see a girl with two big assets at this age without causing trouble. Our boy then begins to slightly twist the man's wrist and asks if he's sure he wants to continue. The desperate man immediately yells for him to let go, saying it hurts too much. Our hero finally releases him, warning that it would be best if he's never seen there again. The coward runs away, and the girl thanks our protagonist. He asks why she is working there instead of at the company, and she explains that it's her day off and she's taking on extra work to help pay for her father's surgery. Our boy then asks if she knows Madame. She says that guy has been trying to offer her some kind of support, but she has always refused, and if it weren't for him today, things would have gone badly. Our boy acknowledges this and tells her to rest, thanking her once again. With that, she leaves. He takes out his phone and tells the bald guard to keep an eye on Madame, who should be at the hospital at this moment. The coward is there with Fang Yuxiu, telling her he arranged everything she wanted so she could stay a little closer. She mentions that Yanmu must have fallen into their trap and that the fun part is just beginning. Midong asks what they will do if things go wrong again. She simply tells him to shut up and obey because she's the one helping him with his revenge. Besides, there's no need to worry because Yanmu is deeply in love with her. Soon he would soften up and show up to apologize. Ah, here comes this villainess plotting against our boy. She calls him and invites him to dinner, saying there's something good to eat. She apologizes for what happened earlier and says they need to reconcile. Then she suggests meeting again at the restaurant where they had their first date. She turns to Maedong and says her part is done, and the rest is up to him. She wants 30 million when the job is done, and then he will also get what he wants. Hold on, is she really selling herself for revenge? Now that's hatred. And she even wants to get back together with the guy. However, it seems that Yanmu is already aware that the two are working together to ruin him. He then asks the system how many points he needs to make an upgrade. It responds that he'll need to earn at least 20 more. He asks how many points can be bought with 30 million points, and the system tells him 10. He wonders how many millions this cursed system is stealing from him. With that, he gets up, saying he will have to find a way to make this easier. He then calls Mr. Kong and tells him he will need some useful information for tomorrow. In the next scene, he's arriving at the restaurant. The same woman who never changes her clothes is already seated at the table, not even bothering to dress up for the date with our protagonist. As soon as he sits down, she says she ordered all his favorites. She asks if he wants more drinks and apologizes for everything that happened recently. The system then informs him that there are sleeping drugs in the wine she's serving. However, due to the system's evolution, it poses no threat to him. Fang Yuxui is wondering why he hasn't drunk it yet. Our protagonist takes a sip. He says that nothing that happened matters and they can leave it in the past. She remarks that she never imagined things would end like this. She always believed they would get married in this life. Yanmu states that if he married her, her family would drain him dry until he died penniless. She slams the table angrily, wondering why he still isn't asleep. He asks if he said anything wrong and she responds no, but that he is all she has in life. She then asks why her family pampers that brother of hers so much. She replies that it's natural to pamper a brother, while internally she's seething, still trying to figure out why he hasn't passed out. At that moment, our protagonist slams his face onto the table. She approaches asking if he's okay, but you already know she's gloating inside. Smiling, she says he thinks he's strong, but in the end, he will lose everything to her. The scene then shifts to a hotel. Our boy was asleep and wakes up. Man, I thought he was faking it, pretending to sleep, but he actually passed out. Turns out our boy knew about the trap and still fell into it. He's a genius. He wakes up next to that girl from the real estate office, who immediately calls him a bastard. He puts his hand on his face, saying he's sure he was having lunch with Fang Yuxu. So how did he end up there? The girl, however, claims that he was the one who messaged her, telling her to show up, and she never imagined she'd be treated worse than an animal. She runs away, saying she was wrong to think he was a good person. But the rascal is smiling, saying that if they want to fight him, he's ready to play. Did he do it on purpose? Or did he mess with her while pretending he wasn't? Or maybe nothing happened, and he just slept, who knows? The scene then changes to a cafe. There are Fang Yuxu, Maedong, and then the last fool arrives. She tells Fang Yuxu she did everything as instructed and the images are on her phone. Fang Yuxu thanks her, tells her she can leave and says she will get a call when they need her again. But she warns her to keep those photos safe as the plan could change. And of course, if she loses them, it won't be good for her father, who's in the hospital. Maedong compliments Fang Yuxu, saying he never imagined she could be this cruel. She replies that Yanmu is the ungrateful one and everything she's doing is just taking back what was supposed to be hers. Maedong says the 30 million will be worth it, and if the plan works, he has nothing to complain about. She then tells him to hurry because it's time for Yanmu to pay for what he did. Today, she would make him taste what it's like to be used. The scene changes to a hotel lobby where our boy asks what she means by that. Maedong says it seems he doesn't know what he did, but that they're seeking justice. Our protagonist responds that he's a law-abiding citizen, so he has nothing to fear. However, Fang Yuxu says that last night they had dinner and he still did that with another woman. Maedong adds that everyone already knows about the girl he allegedly forced into his room and the police are on their way. Even the reporters are there, and if this leaks, his life will be ruined. But Yanmu asks if the two of them think he's an idiot. That's when Fang Yuxi starts noticing that she and Maedong are the ones being recorded. Maedong insists, saying that Yanmu doesn't know what's good for him. However, our boy just tells him to wait a moment because he needs to make a call. At that moment, the secretary says Maedong's and Miss Fang Yuxi's plans and threats have already been posted online. The fool's cigarette drops to the ground and he starts trembling, demanding to know what's going on. The reporters begin shouting, stating there's plenty of evidence that Maedong used his influence to suppress numerous women. Additionally, his company is deep in debt. The reporters surround him and Fang Yuxu, demanding explanations for everything that's happened. The system then states that now that Maedong's company is going bankrupt, it will probably be auctioned off. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the girl with the red hair is Tang Ming. She told our boy they paid her 500,000 to be part of all this. Our boy said he had enough evidence to put Maedong behind bars for life. He then questioned whether she was trying to help him or Maedong. Our boy leaves the scene, saying he's going to take over that fool's company. Meanwhile, Fang Yuxu seethes with rage. 2 days later, everything is being announced on TV, and Mingyao learns about it. In interviews, Fang Yuxu always claimed she had no idea who Maedong was, trying to distance herself from the subject. This makes Mingyao realize that Villainous wasn't a good person. Back in his room, our boy wonders why he hasn't received any survival points after taking down Maedong's company. He looks at the system and asks for just 1 point, complaining that it's been a long time since he earned anything. It's a very unfair world. That's when he receives enough points to upgrade the system. The window shines and suddenly a pink bunny appears out of nowhere. He stares at it, wondering what kind of crazy entity it is. He gets up, wanting to know how this is supposed to help him. But suddenly, the little creature vanishes. Whoa! A small hand grabs him, saying he's a good boy. You all know what's coming, right? Oh, more well-behaved than I expected. Well, well-behaved in terms of clothes, but not in actions. The girl is aggressive. Actually, never mind, she's not well-behaved at all, folks. She asks if he's satisfied and tells him to leave a 5-star review. At that moment, Manhwa appears at the door and asks if he's seen the news, but he tells her not to come in. However, she opens the door, recounting everything that happened with Fang Yuxue. Man, I thought she wouldn't see the scene, but it's too late. She's already face-to-face with everything. She's left speechless and apologizes in despair. Our boy yells at the system, and she remarks that she thought it was a little cuter. Manhwa, truly pure, faints upon seeing the scene. The system-like figure seems to place a cure on her face. Manhwa then wakes up and asks who she is. Only in this world could something like this happen. She introduces herself as Yanmu's system. She says to call her Xiao Yu and informs that from now on, it will all be living together. Manhwa, completely confused, asks Yanmu if by any chance she's dreaming. Meanwhile, at the Feng family house, the mother is trying to console the daughter, saying she'll find a guy soon. The brother, however, as always, is furious, saying she can't get anything right. The father comments that now that Meidong is in prison, the money they were supposed to earn is gone too. And he tells his daughter that she will have to find another rich man to secure the family's future. Fang Yuxue, however, starts getting angry, wondering why she has to find a man to support this family. And with that, she begins to hate everyone. It is at this moment that the mysterious Su, a shadowy figure, asks if she wants to make a deal. The shadow introduces itself as Su and says it can fulfill her desires. However, she lowers her head, thinking she must be hallucinating. But then the shadow transforms into a person, saying it knows she won't believe it, which is why it wants to make this deal. Su tells her that she was used, abused, and abandoned by her ex-boyfriend, so how can she not be angry and full of hate? She admits that she is indeed full of hate, and the shadow offers to make a contract that will give her the revenge she wants. Instantly, she starts being consumed by the shadows, saying what she wants is money. It doesn't matter. One moment she's regretful and angry with her family, and the next she's ready to ruin our protagonist. At that moment, her brother asks why she's so quiet and if she doesn't care about the family's future. Seeing her staring at him, he questions why she's looking at him like that and why she's so useless. Her mother then says her brother is just stressed and she shouldn't take his words to heart, asking if she has thought about what she suggested. Su then explains that she only needs to gather information about this particular boss and hand it over because she will do whatever it takes. Even her mother is startled by how motivated she has become. Let's see who the boss is this time. It can't possibly be Meidong again. Back at Yanmu's house, he explains everything to Manhwa. Apparently, he really did explain everything since she's talking about time travel. Man, he already spilled everything. No holding back. Xiao Yu, however, warns that time travel comes at a high price. For example, Yanmu is now obligated to complete missions for the rest of his life or he could die at any moment. Suddenly, Yanmu gets up, saying he has something to take care of. The two girls are curious and ask where he's going. He explains that he's just going to meet Mr. Tang to check out a car. With that, Xiao Yu gives Manhwa a kiss on the cheek. Is this going to be a forbidden romance? Oh no. Actually, she used some kind of devilish magic and poor Manhwa fell asleep. Yanmu grabs her arm, asking what she did. She explains that she altered Manhwa's memories because it's not good for her to know everything. At least the system seems to know what it's doing. Because if left to this madman, he'd tell everyone. However, he lost his survival point for doing so and is frustrated. But she doesn't seem to care much. And the fool falls to the ground, thinking he can hit the system and have the power bounce back to him. She even jokes, saying it seems the system has a few bugs. She then tells them to hurry and check out the car. But our boy says he feels like going alone. However, she explains that if they stay too far apart, she'll suddenly teleport to his side. Already imagining the scare Tang would get, he realizes he has no choice. Man, this little system is sometimes pretty friendly.
And here we reach the end. Thank you for watching. Drop a like if you enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel, and peace out.